Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mike Loves Fanfic. And today I am reading another one of Witty Names NSW Drabbles. This is the Patreon exclusive. This one is a Canonverse. It's a post-quantum abyss. I think this is from the episode of Voltron. I'm not sure if that is. But this is where Lance confronts Keith in a locker room. Let me check that against that. Figure out what am I talking about. No, if you remember watching Voltron, Quantum is a region of space where the dense neutron stars, even large dark stars and black holes, interact in a way that violates the laws of physics, cause shifts in space-time. It's a chaotic, ever-changing environment. Yeah, that is where that was after, or they're experiencing. I think it's Coven. That was, I don't know what season it's from. Oh, this is from season 6. From episode 2 called Razor's Edge. So that's after when we visited Quantum Abyss. It's Canonverse, so this is a real thing. It's where all the places are real in that show. Okay, now, yeah, this is Lance confronts Keith about his new behavior after returning from the Quantum Abyss. Not bad. Alright, let's get into this fic. But first, I've said this a million times that this is an NSW version. So if you don't like some NSW content, don't watch it. And watch something else, okay? It could be on another channel. You find another video for this channel of the MLFF, or go to another one of my main channels where it's safe, sort of. So let's get into some juicy and some spicy NSW Rebels, if you know what I mean. But this is an audio, but it's so you're not gonna see in the video of doing all this stupid stuff and reacting to it. Okay. Anyways, let's just jump right in to this Rebel and see how would you feel. This is the last chance of turning away and going to another video. 3, 2, 1. Everything's final. Let's get into this.
Warning. This drabble contains NSFW content. Listen at your own risk. Shout out to Witty_name for writing some good stuff. Support her on Patreon, if you want to read more of Voltron fanfictions from her, exclusively.
So, look, here's the thing. Lance isn't new to the whole bad blood thing between him and Keith. Butting heads, snapping at each other, heated stares, and getting a little too rough in training. Snippy remarks and ill-intended jabs. Yeah, that's all territory he's used to navigating. Right from the beginning, him and Keith haven't seen eye to eye. And yeah, okay, he knows it's his fault, okay? He's had that whole epiphany, sorted through those feelings, and realized his own insecurities and repressed emotions, which may or may not have been gay thoughts, made him on edge around Keith, and being flustered translate into being an ass. He knows that, okay? He's already talked it out with Honk and gotten his stuff together, and him and Keith have been better for it. When Keith was leading Voltron, Lance was right there with him. 'Cause as much as he hated seeing Keith succeed, he realized he hated more to see him stumble. So he was there to pick him back up, brush him off, and keep him moving forward. And, you know, being on the receiving end of Keith's gratitude, trust, and fondness, yeah, big plus. Anyway, the point is, Lance isn't new to the whole butting heads thing, but that just hasn't been a thing for a while. They were past this. And this is different. Things have been different ever since Keith got back from that 2-year-long space whale adventure. This isn't Keith being hot-headed and stubborn, me and Lance toe-to-toe and snapping back at him. This is Keith avoiding him, at least being alone with him. This is Keith being unable to look him in the eye. Keith getting mad and stopping away whenever Lance flirts with the aliens they rescue. Keith getting, well, flustered whenever Lance jokes around with him. The flustered part is cute, but he pulls away from Lance whenever he tries to walk around that road. It's like getting to see an open door with all sorts of tempting fantasies behind it, only to have it slammed in his face. Keith still respects him and trusts him as a paladin, still listens to him in the control room and on mission, but he barely even looks at him, and it's been grating on Lance's nerves because it's all just so confusing. Mixed signals to the extreme, hot and cold, flustered and annoyed, a welcome sign and then a do not enter. He doesn't know what Keith wants, and he's getting fed up, and maybe he would have been willing to approach this problem with a level head, but things had gone too far. Because whatever is going on with Keith is messing with their Voltron game. They were mid-battle, and Lance had formed the wings, which is really cool by the way, and then he caught something drifting through their mind and meld that was just so warm and so soft and fond and edged with something heated and simmering and eager, something almost like. And then Voltron broke apart as Keith violently ripped himself from the mind meld. But not fast enough. Lance definitely caught it, and as much as he can barely believe in it, he's familiar enough with repressed desire to recognize it. Only quick action on their part kept them from being toast. But Lance knows that enough is enough. Someone has to tackle this. He knows it has to be him. Everyone else does too. When they got back and Keith immediately stomped off on his own, without a word, everyone just kinda looked at him, waiting and expectant. So he followed Keith, trying to sort through his thoughts and feelings and hype himself up. He has to prepare for this confrontation, because he knows if he stalls for even a moment, he might chicken out. So he has to just go for it. Use his momentum. No stopping. Just charging right through the locker room door where he saw Keith enter as he rounded the corner. He's not sure how well he actually organizes his thoughts before he steps into the locker room. Though, if he's being honest, he doubts he was gonna do this organized and more like just frustrated word vomit until he got his point across. But as he steps through and gets an eye low to Keith's chest, whatever thoughts he might have gathered go flying out the window. Because Keith just, wow. He's not sure if it's all the paladin training or the blade training, or just the 2 years with nothing to do beside train with his mom. But Keith looks good. Like, really good. The pieces of armor are set aside, and his black bodysuit is unzipped to the waist. His shoulders are broader than Lance remembers, chest filled out and toned, pink nipples hard in the open air, drawing attention to pecs that Lance would absolutely kill a man just for a chance to pull his face there. Or his dick. He's not picky. His arms are thicker, and Lance is not afraid to admit he's thought about Keith throwing him to the ground, and up against a wall, and manhandling him on a bed. His abs could be used to wash clothes, and the V-lines of his pelvis already have Lance sweating, and he wouldn't give to run his tongue over those lines, to trail his lips along those abs, to follow that thick line of hair down, down, down. He clears his throat, both to announce his presence and get his stuff under control. Keith had been sitting on one of the benches, hunched over as he wraps a bandage absently around his hand, brows furrowed and lips pursed into a small scowl. But he startles at the noise, looking up with wide eyes and blinking in a way that's just adorable. But the cute surprise lasts only a second before it's being locked away, replaced by a frown. Lance, Shut up! He steps forward, snapped out of his admiration by that guarded tone. Hates that tone. Keith isn't supposed to be guarded with him. Not anymore. Whatever excuse or dismissal you have, I don't want to hear it. He throws himself onto the bench next to Keith, snatching the bandage out of his hand and grabbing his wrist, pulling it in front of him. We're going to talk. And by we, I mean you. You are going to talk. And you're going to tell me what's been up with you lately. Keith doesn't find him. Just sits there and watches as Lance meticulously and gently wraps his hand. The skin is tender and bruised, raw and heated. There's a singe mark on the back of it. Lance hadn't even noticed him get hit, but it makes his stomach roll that he wasn't there to stop it. I don't... He bits his tongue as he catches Lance's sharp glare, mouth snapping shut. He looks away, lips pursed, and Lance watches his throat move as he swallows. It's not what you think, he finally mutters. Lance humps, taking his time wrapping Keith's hand, dragging it out if only to have an excuse to touch. Oh, and what do I think? It's not because I hate you. He's not sure if that's what he thought, but he won't deny that it crosses his mind. It's good to get that out of the way, at least, but he definitely caught something through the mind meld, and it definitely wasn't hate. Quite the opposite, really. His insides flutter, twisting and nervous, and he swallows hard, keeping his cool. He needs his cool for this. He really, really wants it to go well. Then what is it? He asked. Keith silent, eyes turned away, so Lance pries a little more. You've been acting weird ever since you got back from the quantum abyss. Keith winces, and Lance heaves a heavy breath. 2 years is a long time. 2 years alone is a long time to think about things. To grow out of someone. To get over those feelings that have been daring to bloom just before he had left. It's also a lot of time to grow impatient. To really understand what he wants. To be so close to snapping and letting everything come rushing out. God, Lance hopes it's the second one. Look, if you don't, I'm not gonna be upset if... Lance frowns, scowling down at Keith's hand cradled in his own. Traces Italy patterns on his wrist with a light touch. He sighs, shoulders sagging. It's okay if we never really talk about stuff, so if that's not a thing anymore, if you feel differently, that's okay. That's not it. Keith says, sharp and sudden, firm and sure. Lance blinks up at him, Bill Witter, and finds Keith staring at him with pursed lips and fire in his eyes. Searching Lance's face, his expression softens. That's not it. He swallows, voice barely above a whisper. Then what? Keith looks down at his hand, brows pinching. Remember how I said we saw things out there? Things of the past? And the future? Lance finds it hard to breathe. Yeah? I saw some stuff. Okay. Good stuff, but it's made me... I don't... Keith is clearly struggling and getting frustrated by it. Lance decides to take a shot to save him the trouble. You don't know how to act around us. Know that you've gotten a peek at the future? Keith heaves a sigh. Yeah. And I'm gonna guess it mostly me? Keith goes rigid, but Lance pushes forward. You're really only weird around me. And today, right before Voltron broke apart, Keith's eyes find his, wide and scared, like a cornered animal before they dart away. Keith makes to stand, but Lance's grip on his wrist tightens, one hand coming down his shoulder and forcing him back down. Nuh-uh. No more running away. What did you see? Keith huffs, defeated but petulant. I don't want to tell you. Why not? I don't. He shifts posture, going sheepish as he glances at Lance sidelong. Know how you take it. Try me, Lance. Come on! He cast Seth to the side, offering a lopsided smile. I'm your right-hand man. Have I ever let you down? Keith huffs a short laugh, breathy exhales that curls his lips even as he shakes his head. It's incredibly fun, and it makes Lance's heart kick it into overtime. The hand in Lance's grip flexes, curling into a fist before relaxing. He falls forward, elbow resting on his knee, free hand dangling between his legs as he stares at the floor, brows furrowed, eyes distant. It was just one thing. I saw bits and pieces of the future, but I don't if it's a set future. I might still mess it up, and none of it will happen. And you want it to happen? He lets out a long breath. Yeah, and I'm trying to just be normal. But nothing feels normal anymore. Not after what I've seen. He lets out a frustrated huff, running his fingers through his hair and dropping his face into his palm. From there, he mumbles, I don't know what to do. Lance hums, low and thoughtful, trying to gather his racing thoughts as they whirl around, urged on by the loud beat of his heart. The hand on Keith's shoulder slides down his arm, squeezing gently in what he hopes is a comforting gesture, and not what it really is, which is an excuse to feel his biceps because, goddamn, focus, Lance. His other hand holds Keith's cradle in his palm, thumb idly rubbing circles against his under wrist. Look, I'm not an expert in quantum abyss future sight, but it kinda seems to me that doing nothing isn't going to get you the future you want. He tilts his head, glancing silently at Lance from where his face is still half buried in his palm. Lance keeps his eyes on Keith's arm, a small smile on his lips. Keith is so warm beneath his touch, skin so unfairly smooth and muscles flexing beneath his fingers. I don't know what you saw. He takes a chance, letting his hand slide down Keith's arm to his elbow, before sliding back up, but over his shoulder. Taking his time, feeling the muscle beneath his palm, enjoying the way his skin jumps beneath his touch. But maybe you should trust me. He lets his hand rock forward, thumb tracing Keith's collarbone, before shifting up the column of his throat, fingers curling around the back of his neck. Keith sits up a little straighter, eyes fluttering shut, leaning into the touch. Lance smiles, running the pad of his thumb along the sharp jut of Keith's jaw as his fingertips tangle in his hair. He lowers his voice, loving the way he can feel Keith shiver. Maybe you should trust the freaky space magic and take a leap of faith. Keith tilts his head, pressing to Lance's hand and gazing at him through lidded eyes, dark and heated, pupils blown. Still, he hesitates, searching Lance's face. So Lance offers him a small smirk, tilting his head in a way he hopes is coy. Have I ever let you down, samurai? Keith stares at him. Beautiful. Kissable. Lips parted. Eyes gone wide. Startled? Lance isn't sure. His own gaze is too fixated on the tip of a pink tongue coming out to lick along those lips to really read what's going on in Keith's head. Thankfully, this time, he uses his words. I think I've seen this moment, whispered, awed, breathless. That catches his attention. Lance's eyes snap up to Keith's. Really? Keith nods, pursing his lips. His stare is intense, making him shiver, searching Lance's for something. His fingers curl at Keith's neck, body tense in anticipation, running like a liquid heat through his veins. So, he breathes, licking his lips. Keith's eyes catch on the moment, and Lance feels his heart stutter. What happens next? Keith feels rigid, frozen beneath Lance's touch, expression torn but eyes heated, dark, wanting. A leap of fate? He whispers. Lance nods. A leap of fate. Keith has always been quick, impulsive, reflexive, diving headlong into things. Speed has always been his ally. Even though Lance had been expecting something, the quick moment still catches him off guard, makes his head spin. Keith's hands start out, grabbing him by the hips and hauling Lance onto his lap. It's effortless and smooth, and Lance is left gasping, hands scrambling to hold onto Keith's shoulder as his weight is lifted from the bench and shifted. Then he left, straddling Keith's thighs, bracketing his hips, arms were around him and staring down Keith's lit eyes and heated smirk and wow. Okay, that's just happened. Keith definitely just manhandled him, and Lance can definitely get used to that. Heat already surges through him, coiling low and simmering beneath his skin, prickling at the back of his neck and burning at his ears. A nervous laugh slips from him, leaving him breathless as he says, "Wow, you've gotten a lot stronger." Keith hums, low and thoughtful, and goose bumps across Lance's skin. Keith's hands, large and warm, slid up his hips and down his thighs, ghosting past his ass on the way up before his hand slipped up his waist, only to catch on the chest plate. "Off," Keith demands, tone sharp and commanding. Gone is the nervousness and hesitation, bringing forth a Keith that makes Lance tremble, firm, confident, demanding, eager. Desperation kept on a tight leash, but slipping through in the way he grips Lance's waist. Together, hands shaky and clumsy in their eager desperation, they remove Lance's armor, toss it onto the floor with a little regard. Keith's hands are at his back, finding the zipper of his bodysuit and pulling it down the length of his spine. The air is cold at his back, making him shiver as he shrugs out of the arms, leaving the material to bunch at his waist. Keith stares, eyes lit in the dark, hands on lambskin, on his narrow waist, moving up to the curve of his ribs, slipping around back to feel the notch of his spine, sliding around front to cup his pecs, thumbs pressing teasily against his nipples, making him gasp and squirm, biting his bottom lip, over down to his hips, gripping tight and tugging him forward until Lance falls into him, bare chest pressed tight, skin hot to the touch, breaths pushing against one another, fanning out across lips as Lance wraps his arms around Keith's shoulders. They're close, so close. Heads tilted at just the right angle, waiting. He doesn't know for what. He hesitates, but there's no doubt or uncertainty in the way he stares at Lance, in the way he holds him. With every breath, he'll feel his stomach push into his own, feel his happy trail tease against the sensitive skin of his stomach. It makes him gasp. It makes his hips roll forward automatically, seeking more. Makes them both gasp as they find friction. He doesn't know who moves first. Perhaps it's at the same time, both of them feeling the phantom tug winding them together. Either way, in the next moment Keith's lips are on his, and nothing else matters. Soft is the first thing he notices. Surprisingly soft, full, hot, eager. Their kiss lingers on his firm and sweet, both of them wrapped up in a moment of their first, of memorizing it, of trying to process and feel. But then Lance's hips are moving again. He can't help it really. He started, and the rhythm is so easy to fall into. A push and pull, a roll forward, rubbing up against Keith, only to pull away and push back, and Keith is right there with him, hands on his hips, pulling him forward, dragging him across his lap as his own hips move to meet him. Lance gasps, fingers tangling in Keith's hair, and Keith takes advantage of the moment to slide his tongue past Lance's lips, licking into his mouth with a fervor that leaves him dizzy, eager to keep but struggling to do so when Keith's tongue is in his mouth, teeth nipping at his lips, hands sliding beneath his suit to cup his ass, using a bruising grip as leverage to drag their hips together. He's already hard. He can't help it. This has been the sole focus of his fantasies for months, and it finally happening, and Keith is manhandling him, and he can barely think, which might be embarrassing if it weren't for the fact that he can feel Keith's cock pressing against his own, thick and full, just as hard and just as eager. And that's a new sensation. Another man's cock rocking against his own, feeling how hard he is, moaning to Keith's mouth as white hands knead his ass and bruise his cheeks with claws? Are those claws? Keith's teeth nip at his lower lip, and Lance inhales sharply at the brief prick of pain. Pulls back, panting heavily, head spinning. Keith is staring at him through lit eyes. Yellow eyes. pupils slitting even as they're blown. His hips still roll, hands dragging Lance along his lap in a slow, filthy grind. As he licks his lips, Lance catches a glimpse of fangs. "Oh," he whispers, hands tightening Keith's hair. He's going all gone, and that's... wow. Okay. It's hot. That's something Lance hadn't expected to cause a surge of white, hot desire to ripple through him. But there it is, and here they are. He's into it. "Keith!" He dives forward, pulling Keith to him to crash their mouths together once more, rolling his hips faster, encouraging Keith to pick up the pace, breathing heavily through his nose as Keith's demanding. Sinful lips take him for everything he's willing to give. It's frantic, it's desperate. He holds on to Keith as Keith pushes them together, as Keith devours him, and he whimpers softly and moans into that hot mouth, encouraging it faster, faster, more. Feels it building quickly, heat sinking low and curling tight, building him higher and higher. "Keith," he firms, fingers tightening his hair. "Keith, please." He pulls back far enough to speak, but Keith just slides down into his jaw, trailing kisses down his neck, nipping under his jaw with his fangs, sucking dark marks beneath his ear. His grinding gets sporadic, and body arching as a new wave of pleasure rolls through him, one hand digging his nails into Keith's back, and the other curling into a fist in his hair. "Keith, I need..." He doesn't know what he needs. His body does. But his mind is spinning. He can't articulate, can't figure it out, can't form words as Keith bites at his collarbone. But Keith, thank God, knows what he needs. Maybe he just needs it too. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that Keith's hands are on him, pushing his body still further down, far enough to free his cock, hard aching, pulsing, to the open air. He doesn't linger, hand leaving him far too quickly and making Lance whine. But then he's doing the same to himself, pulling out his own cock. Lance wants to stare, wants to take it all in, wants to feel it and memorize it and imagine how it would feel weighing down his tongue and stretching his lips. But then one of Keith's hands is back on his ass, claws biting into the flesh of one cheek as he roughly pulls Lance forward, higher on his lap, pressing their cocks together and wrapping his other hand around them both. Keith hisses, head dropping out to rest against Lance's shoulder. Italy mounting kisses against his throat and panting against his collarbone. "Lance, Keith," Lance moans, arms wrapped around him, holding him there as his head is thrown back, lips parted, back arching. Holy He's babbling. He can feel it. He can hear it, but can barely understand it. He's too lost, too gone, too wrapped up in the sensation of Keith's hand, hot and heavy, and callous, wrapped around him. His cock pressed against Keith's, their pre-cum adding to the glide, friction making sparks dance down his spine as that pleasure builds and builds and builds. He comes first, body locking and going rigid, voice leaving him in a soft moan that trails into silence, lips parted, eyes squeezed shut, pleasure rolling him in waves as it comes and bursts over Keith's hand, over his cock, onto their stomachs. Keith strokes him through it, quick and uncoordinated and crazed, until it's crashing over the edge right behind him. Hands learn to gently guide them both through the last waves of their orgasms, making a mess of their bodysuits. Cum sticking between them where their chests are heaving, pressed together, hips easily rolling until then come to an exhausted stop. Lance hadn't realized he had been holding himself up on his knees until he collapses on top of Keith, boneless and blistered out, legs aching, body tingling pleasantly, chest full and warm. He idly runs his fingers through Keith's hair, scratching at his scalp and smiling when he hums softly. They sit there for a long while, time blurred and hazy as they come down from their high, long enough for their semen to go cold and unpleasantly sticky, but not long enough for them to care about it. Not when it's warm where they touch, not when there's a warmth in the atmosphere, something blooming between them, tremulous and new, fragile but wholly welcome. Something beautiful. He turns his head, pressing his lips to key symbol. Is that how you saw it in your freaky future space vision? Keith huffed a soft lap against Lance's neck. He can feel the smile press to his skin. Yeah. Does this mean you're gonna stop avoiding me? Keith's hand trails up his back, a touch warm and reverent. Yeah. Does this mean you're gonna tell me what else you saw in the future? No. He can feel Keith's smile widen before he presses his soft kiss beneath his ear. A light caress of his fingertips along Lance's spine is teasing. You just have to wait and find out. Thank goodness I just had to compose myself together so that I don't want to laugh myself from reading this NSW trouble. But I did through it. So yeah, I think I know Keith saw in that little freaky future based in his vision in the future that, yep, they're gonna have some sexual fantasy about Keith and Lance. If you know what I'm saying. Yep, that's for sure. Well, that is it for today. Well, that's it for the Drabble. And hopefully we'll get back to some safety reading. Possibly. I don't know. We'll just keep it out there. We'll just stay where it is. Okay now. Goodbye everyone.